My neighbor Mark won my kids' hearts. He gave them secret phones. Then I heard his plan, and he said he was their real dad. I moved to Willow Creek, a quiet suburb in Ohio, 6 months ago with my 2 kids, Emma and Lucas. Emma's 6, with a giggle that lights up a room. Lucas, 8, is all curiosity, always asking why the sky's blue or how cars work. After the divorce, it was just us 3, starting fresh in a small red brick house with a creaky porch. I wanted a place where we could heal, where the kids could run in the yard without worry. Willow Creek seemed perfect, tree-lined streets, neighbors waving from their lawns. On our first day, as I wrestled with moving boxes, a man approached from the house next door. "Need a hand?" he called, his voice warm, confident. He introduced himself as Mark, mid-30s, with a disarming smile and eyes that crinkled at the corners. He wore a faded flannel shirt, sleeves rolled up like he'd just stepped out of a hardware store ad. Emma and Lucas took to him instantly. He crouched down, joking about how Lucas's toy truck was way cooler than his old one. They laughed, and I felt a knot in my chest loosen. Maybe this place could be home. Mark was a talker, full of stories about Willow Creek's history, the best pizza joint in town, even tips for keeping squirrels out of the garden. He said he'd lived here for years, working as a freelance mechanic. "I fix things," he grinned, ruffling Lucas's hair. The kids hung on his every word. I mentioned I spoke Spanish, a holdover from college, but he brushed it off, launching into another tale. I didn't push it. His energy was infectious. Within weeks, Mark was a fixture. He'd bring over cookies he accidentally baked too many of, or he'd offer to watch Emma and Lucas while I ran errands. I'm a nurse, working long shifts at Mercy Hospital, so his help felt like a godsend. The kids adored him. "Mom, Mark showed us how to make paper airplanes," Emma squealed one evening. Lucas nodded, eyes wide, describing how Mark's planes soared across the yard. I smiled, grateful for a neighbor who seemed to care. But something nagged at me. Mark was too good with them, almost like he'd studied how to win kids over. He'd show up unannounced, always with a reason, a tool to lend, a question about the neighborhood watch. His eyes lingered a little too long when he watched Emma draw or Lucas play. I chalked it up to my own paranoia. Divorce does that to you, makes you question everyone's motives. Still, I let him babysit when my shifts ran late. The kids were safe, happy. What could be wrong? One night, after tucking Emma and Lucas in, I sat on the couch, staring at the dark TV screen. Mark had been over earlier, playing tag with the kids in the backyard. His laughter echoed in my mind, but so did the way he'd looked at me when I thanked him like he was sizing me up. I shook it off, sipping my tea. Willow Creek was supposed to be our fresh start. I wasn't going to let my overactive imagination ruin it. Mark's charm started to wear thin about 2 months after we settled in Willow Creek. At first, his eagerness to help felt like a blessing. He'd watch Emma and Lucas when my hospital shifts stretched past midnight, always with a grin and a no trouble at all. But then he began offering advice, unasked, about how I raised my kids. It started small. "Lucas seems tired. Maybe an earlier bedtime," he'd say, leaning against my kitchen counter, his voice casual but pointed. Or, "Emma loves carrots. You should pack those for her lunch." I nodded politely, but my skin prickled. I'd been parenting alone for years. I didn't need pointers from a neighbor. One evening, I came home to find Emma and Lucas eating chocolate bars before dinner. "Mark gave them to us," Emma chirped, her face smeared with candy. Lucas nodded, licking his fingers. I frowned. Before dinner, they shrugged, giggling, like it was no big deal. When I asked Mark about it later, he laughed it off. "Just a treat, Sarah. Kids need fun sometimes." His tone was light, but his eyes locked onto mine, almost daring me to push back. I let it slide, not wanting to seem ungrateful. He was helping me out, after all. But the comments kept coming. He'd suggest what medicine to give Lucas for a cough, what books Emma should read, even how to discipline them. "You're too soft on them," he said once, smirking as he tossed a football with Lucas in the yard. Kids need structure. My jaw tightened. I wanted to snap that I knew my own kids, but I held back. Mark was good with them, and they loved him. Emma would draw pictures for Uncle Mark, and Lucas begged to show him every new toy. I didn't want to ruin that for them. Then came the night that changed everything. I was exhausted, slumped on the couch after a double shift. Mark had been over, playing board games with the kids. As he left, he paused at the door, his voice soft. "You know, Sarah, I can't have kids. Doctor said it's impossible." He looked down, his hands stuffed in his pockets. "Emma and Lucas, they're like my own. I'd do anything for them." His words hung heavy, and I felt a pang of sympathy. "I'm sorry, Mark," I said, my voice gentle. "I didn't know." He nodded, his smile sad but warm, and left. I sat there, staring at the closed door, my chest tight. His confession explained his attachment, but it also felt off, like he was telling me something I was supposed to feel, not something he truly felt. The next week, the kids' comments started to shift. "Mark says we don't need nap time," Emma told me one afternoon, her crayons scattered across the table. Lucas chimed in, "Yeah, he lets us stay up and watch cartoons." I raised an eyebrow. "Mark's not in charge of your bedtime," I said firmly, but they just giggled, like it was a game. Then, one night, Lucas dropped a bombshell. "Mark says he'd be a better dad than anyone else we know." My fork froze midair. "What?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. Emma nodded, her eyes wide. "He said he'd take us to the arcade all the time if he was our dad." My stomach twisted. I forced a smile, changed the subject, but my mind raced. Why was Mark talking about being their dad? I started watching him closer. His visits became more frequent, always with an excuse, a new game for the kids, a quick check-in to see if I needed anything. But his energy had changed. He'd linger, watching me as I tucked the kids in, his smile too tight, too practiced. Once, I caught him staring at a photo of me and the kids on the mantel, his expression unreadable. "Cute family," he said, but his voice was flat, like he was reciting a line. I laughed it off, but my pulse quickened. Something wasn't right. I couldn't shake the feeling that Mark wasn't just a helpful neighbor. He was playing a role, and I was starting to wonder what he was really after. The air in Willow Creek felt heavier heavier now, like a storm was brewing just out of sight. Mark's presence in our lives had shifted from comforting to suffocating. Emma and Lucas still lit up when he came over, but their words started to cut. One night, as I tucked Emma into bed, she looked up, her eyes big and serious. Mark says you're too busy to be a good mom. My heart stopped. I knelt beside her, keeping my voice steady. What else does Mark say? She hesitated, then whispered, he says he'd be a better dad than you are a mom. Lucas, listening from his doorway, nodded. He told us to listen to him, not you. My blood ran cold, but I smiled, kissed her forehead and said, you know I love you both, right? They nodded, but their eyes held doubt. The next morning, I found Lucas drawing a picture of our family. It was me, Emma, and Mark, standing where their dad used to be. Lucas, why's Mark in the picture? I asked, my throat tight. He shrugged, avoiding my gaze. He said he wants to be our dad, but you won't let him. I felt like I'd been punched. I wanted to scream, to march next door and confront him, but I knew that wouldn't work. Mark was clever, calculated. He'd turn it around, make me look unhinged. I needed to be smarter. That evening, Mark came over unannounced, a bag of toys in hand. Thought the kids might like these, he said, his grin too wide. Emma and Lucas ran to him, squealing, while I stood frozen in the kitchen. As they played, I noticed him whispering to Lucas, his hand on his shoulder, too close. My skin crawled. I pretended to busy myself with dishes, but my ears were sharp. Then I heard a phone call. Mark stepped into the hallway, his voice low, speaking in Spanish. He didn't know I understood every word. I edged closer to the door, my heart pounding. Yeah, it's going perfectly, he said, his tone smug. The kids are almost mine. Just a few more weeks, and I'll have them turned against her completely. My knees buckled. I gripped the counter, forcing myself to breathe. He laughed, a cold, sharp sound. I'll stage something, make it look like she's neglecting them. CPS will come, and who do you think they'll want to live with? Me. My vision blurred with rage and fear. He was planning to frame me, to steal my children. I slipped back to the living room, my face a mask of calm. Mark returned, all smiles, ruffling Emma's hair. Everything okay, Sarah? He asked, his eyes searching mine. I nodded, my lips tight. Just tired, I lied. Inside, my mind was screaming. He thought he'd won, thought I was clueless, but I'd heard him. I knew his game now. The next day, I watched the kids closely. Emma mentioned secret games Mark played with them when I wasn't home. What kind of games? I asked, keeping my tone light. Lucas clammed up, his face pale. Just stuff, he muttered. Mark says it's our secret. My stomach twisted into knots. Secrets. That word alone was a siren in my head. I tried probing gently, but they shut down, exchanging looks like they'd been coached. Mark says you wouldn't understand, Emma added, her voice small. I forced a smile, changed the subject, but my hands shook as I poured their juice. That night, alone in my room, I replayed his phone call in my head. A few more weeks. Stage something. CPS. Each word was a dagger. Mark wasn't just a creepy neighbor. He was a predator, weaving himself into our lives, turning my own kids against me. I couldn't sleep, my mind racing with what he might do next. What had he already done? What lies had he fed Emma and Lucas? I stared at the ceiling, my heart pounding. I had to protect them, but I needed proof. I needed to catch him before he could destroy us. The clock was ticking, and I was running out of time. I couldn't let Mark win. His words from that phone call echoed in my head, each one a splinter under my skin. A few more weeks. Stage something. CPS. I had to act fast, but I couldn't confront him directly. He was too slick, too good at twisting things. I needed hard evidence, something undeniable. The next morning, I called in sick to Mercy Hospital, dropped Emma and Lucas at school myself, and made sure Mark wasn't lurking nearby. My hands shook as I drove back to Willow Creek, my mind racing with what I'd overheard. First, I ordered nanny cams online same-day delivery from Amazon, a fake phone charger for the living room, a clock for the kitchen, a tiny lens hidden in a bookshelf. I needed eyes everywhere. Then I bought voice-activated recorders, small enough to tuck into corners. While the kids were at school, I called my sister Sarah, who lived an hour away in Dayton. He's what? She gasped when I told her about Mark's plan. Her voice was sharp, angry. He's trying to frame you for neglect? That's insane, Sarah. I swallowed hard, the word insane hitting like a slap. I need help, I said. I need a plan. She promised to come stay with us for a few days to see Mark's behavior for herself. Next, I called my friend Lisa, who worked in family services in Columbus. Without naming Mark, I laid out the situation, his manipulation, the kids' comments, the phone call. You need evidence, Lisa said, her tone serious. Recordings, texts, anything concrete. If he's turning your kids against you, their statements could back him up without proof. My stomach churned. She was right. Mark had spent months building his case while I'd been blind. Document everything, she added. Their meals, your time with them, everything to show you're a good mom. I hung up, my resolve hardening. When the kids got home, I tried talking to them about Mark again. What do you guys do when he's here? I asked, stirring spaghetti in the kitchen. Lucas shrugged, his eyes on his plate. Just play, Emma piped up. He teaches us cool stuff, like secret codes. My heart sank. Codes? I pressed, keeping my voice light. They exchanged a look, then clammed up. It's just games, Mom, Lucas said, his tone defensive. I didn't push, but my mind screamed. Secret codes? What was he teaching them? Later, while they watched cartoons, I searched their rooms. I hated it, invading their space, but I had to know. Under Lucas's mattress, I found a cheap prepaid phone. My breath caught. It had one number saved: Mark's. Texts read, "Call if Mom acts weird," and "Text me if she tries to take you somewhere far." My hands trembled as I snapped photos of the screen. In Emma's room, I found another phone, stuffed inside her teddy bear. Same number, same instructions. Mark had given them secret phones to spy on me. I left them in place, not wanting to tip him off. I called the school next, my voice steady despite my racing pulse. Lucas's teacher said he'd been quiet lately, withdrawn. Emma's teacher mentioned she talked about Uncle Mark nonstop. Then the bomb dropped. Mark had picked them up from school twice last month, claiming I'd authorized him. My blood ran cold. I updated the pickup list immediately, banning Mark and restricting it to me alone. No one else, I told the office, my voice firm. Not under any circumstances. That night, I texted Mark. Kids are asking for you. Work emergency tomorrow, 7 to 9 p.m. Can you watch them? His reply was instant. Tied up till evening, but I can do 7. Happy to help. My skin crawled at his enthusiasm, but I had him where I wanted. The cameras would be ready, the recorders hidden. I spent the day installing them, testing the app on my phone. Every room was covered. Sarah arrived that afternoon, her face grim as she hugged me. We'll get him, she whispered. The kids were thrilled to see her, but when I mentioned Mark coming tomorrow, their excitement shifted to him. Don't make him mad, Mom, Emma said, her voice small. Lucas nodded. He says you ruin things. I forced a smile, my heart breaking. Mark had burrowed deep into their minds, but I was ready to fight back. The evening Mark was set to come over, my nerves were electric. The nanny cams blinked silently in the living room, kitchen, and hallway, their tiny lenses hidden in everyday objects. Voice recorders were tucked behind books and under cushions. Sarah, my sister, sat at the kitchen table, pretending to scroll on her phone but watching my every move. I'd told her the plan. Act stressed, bait Mark into revealing his intentions, and let the cameras catch it all. Emma and Lucas were playing upstairs, unaware of the trap we'd set. My heart pounded as I set out snacks, my hands clumsy. This had to work. Mark arrived at 7 p.m. sharp, his smile wide as he stepped inside. Rough day, Sarah? He asked, his voice dripping with fake concern. I sighed heavily, rubbing my temples. Work's been brutal. I'm barely keeping up. His eyes gleamed, like a predator sensing weakness. He knelt to hug Emma and Lucas as they ran down, squealing. Uncle Mark! They shouted, clinging to him. I caught Sarah's glance, her jaw tight, seeing what I'd described. Mark spent a minute making silly faces, but when our eyes met, his smile faltered, like he sensed a shift. I gestured to the couch. Let's sit, talk for a bit. He hesitated, then suggested, how about the kids stay? They love hanging out. His tone was light, but his eyes were sharp, testing me. I shook my head. This is grown-up stuff, Mark. They can play upstairs. Emma pouted. We want to stay with Uncle Mark. Lucas added. He's more fun than you. My chest ached, but I kept my voice calm. Upstairs, guys. Now. They sulked but obeyed, leaving us alone. In the kitchen, away from the kids, I leaned into my act, slumping against the counter. I'm thinking of moving us closer to my parents in Toledo, I said, watching his face. Mom offered to help with childcare. It'd save money. His expression darkened just for a second before he recovered. Moving? He said, his voice tight. That's disruptive for the kids. They're settled here, Sarah. I pushed harder. It's just an idea. I'm stretched thin. They'd be closer to family. His mask slipped. You're ruining everything, he hissed, stepping closer. My pulse spiked, but the recorder was rolling. What do you mean? I asked, feigning confusion. He caught himself, forcing a smile. I just mean the kids need stability. I'm here for them. You know that. His voice was smooth again, but I'd heard the crack. I pressed on. You're really invested in them, Mark. It's almost like you think they're yours. His eyes narrowed, a flicker of something dark crossing his face. They mean everything to me, he said, his tone possessive. Those kids deserve someone who puts them first. The way he said those kids sent a chill down my spine, like he already claimed them. I checked my phone, pretending to read a work email. I should head out soon. Early shift tomorrow. He nodded, but as he hugged the kids goodbye, his arms lingered too long. I overheard him whisper to Emma, remember our secret plan, okay? She nodded, her face serious. My stomach twisted. After he left, I reviewed the kitchen footage. His "you're ruining everything" was clear, but it wasn't enough. I needed more. The next morning, I checked the kids' phones again. New texts from Mark. If Mom talks about moving, call me. One read. Then, the one that stopped my heart. Someday I'll tell you why I'm your real dad. Your mom kept me away, but I love you. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. He'd told them he was their father. Everything clicked: their loyalty, their defiance, the secret plans. He'd woven a lie so deep it had become their truth. I clutched the phone, rage and fear warring inside me. Mark wasn't just manipulating them. He was trying to erase me. I had to end this, but one wrong move, and I'd lose them forever. Mark's words haunted me, but I had him now. The recordings, the texts, the phones, they were my weapons. I called Lisa from Family Services first, my voice trembling as I shared the evidence. This is serious, Sarah, she said. Get it to the police now. I did. That afternoon, I handed over the footage and text to the Willow Creek PD. The officer's face hardened as he read Mark's messages claiming he was Emma and Lucas's father. We'll take it from here, he promised. I felt a flicker of relief, but my chest was still tight. This wasn't over. Mark was arrested 2 days later on charges of stalking, custodial interference, and child exploitation. The news spread through Willow Creek like wildfire. Neighbors whispered, shocked that the nice guy next door was a predator. I kept Emma and Lucas home from school, shielding them from the gossip. When I told them Mark wouldn't be coming over anymore, Lucas's face crumpled. Why not? He demanded. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Is it because you're mad at him? My heart broke. I wanted to scream the truth, but I knew it would shatter them. Instead, I hugged them close. We're going to be okay, I whispered. Just us. The trial was grueling. I testified, laying out every chilling detail: Mark's manipulation, the secret phones, his plan to frame me. Sarah sat beside me in court, squeezing my hand as I faced Mark's cold stare. His lawyer tried to paint me as paranoid, but the evidence was ironclad. The prosecutor played the kitchen recording, Mark's voice snarling, "You're ruining everything." Then came the texts, his sick lie about being their father. The jury's faces darkened. Another witness, a woman named Rachel, testified about Mark's past. He'd tried the same scheme with her family in Akron years ago, using a different name. The pattern was undeniable. After a tense week, the jury returned a guilty guilty verdict. Mark got 7 years. I exhaled, but victory felt hollow. The damage was done. Helping Emma and Lucas heal was harder than the trial. They were confused, angry. Lucas had nightmares, waking up screaming for Mark. Emma clung to me, asking why Uncle Mark lied. I found a therapist, Dr. Carter, who specialized in childhood trauma. She suggested bringing in their real father, David, my ex-husband. He'd been distant since our divorce, but when I explained, he was horrified and flew in from Chicago. In therapy, we showed the kids photos of David holding them as babies, his face beaming. Lucas stared, uncertain. Mark said those were fake, he whispered. Emma frowned. He said you kept him from us. Dr. Carter guided us gently, helping them separate Mark's lies from reality. It took months. Lucas shut down at first, refusing to talk. Emma cried, asking why someone would lie about being their dad. People don't do that, she sobbed. I held her, my own tears falling. Dr. Carter used art therapy for Lucas, letting him paint his anger dark, jagged lines slowly giving way to softer colors. Emma wrote in a journal we shared, her words raw. I miss Mark, but I hate him too. We worked through each lie, rebuilding trust. David's weekly video calls helped, his stories about their baby years grounding them in truth. We moved to a new house in a quiet Cleveland suburb, a fresh start. The kids helped picket a cozy place with a big backyard. I saved every penny for the down payment, wanting a space untainted by Mark. We created new routines, Friday movie nights with popcorn fights, Sunday hikes by Lake Erie. But fear lingered. Lucas checked the locks nightly, his small hands trembling. Emma hid a bracelet Mark gave her, unsure if she should keep it. We held a ceremony, letting them choose what to leave behind. They burned his gifts in a fire pit, but Emma kept the bracelet, saying it wasn't his anymore, it was hers. Mark's appeal came a year later, a gut punch. Lucas regressed, wetting the bed. Emma refused school, clinging to me. Our lawyer assured us the appeal was weak, and it was denied. Still, I set up safety plans, code words, authorized adults at school, a security system. Dr. Carter reduced our sessions to monthly, but I kept her number close. One night, Lucas asked, was it my fault? Did I let Mark trick us? I pulled them both close. Never, I said firmly. He's the adult. He made those choices. You're my heroes for being so strong. 2 years later, we're healing, but scars remain. Emma's back to her bubbly self, painting and laughing. Lucas joined soccer, his confidence growing. I met a new neighbor, Tom, a kind single dad. I'm cautious, but his genuine warmth feels different. The kids like him, and for the first time, I'm letting myself trust again. Last night, tucking Emma in, she smiled. Mark didn't break us, Mom. Lucas nodded from his room. We're a team. I kissed them goodnight, my heart full. No one will ever take that from us.